We are just weeks away from the state championships at Gillette Stadium. We are past the state sectional finals, moving on to the statewide semifinals. This week, we welcome you aboard. This week's preview, as always, I'm Scott Barboza, joined by my co-editor, my compadre, Brennan Hall. Brennan, what's going on?
Yeah, another thrilling week of football. I really like the home games deciding sectional titles, gave it that cool atmosphere. Now we get to the state semifinals, one win away from Gillette Stadium for a number of these teams. Division I, that matchup is already set, Central Catholic versus Havarian, but a number of quality matchups here. I think we're going to see some big crowds, a lot of intensity this weekend on Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely, and you talk about home field advantage coming to play this time of the year. Some great crowds out there. Sound like a crazy atmosphere out in Tewksbury. I know when I was at Mansfield Friday night, great showing there. Also,
Leominster had a great, absolutely electric atmosphere at Doyle Field, even bigger than the first meeting between St. John's and Leominster. Yeah. And obviously that game took forever because nobody was really playing defense there. It was 51-42 final. What a thrilling game that was, though. A big crowd. Yeah. Talking
about showing up, though, one theme of this postseason run, I think, has been the big players coming to play week in, week out. And a huge performance from Mansfield last week, obviously, against Barnstead. The game kind of deflated, I think, by the time of halftime, because Mansfield, I really think, played close to a flawless game on both sides of the ball as that you can. And a huge reason of that why was Kyle Wisniewski. Was unbelievable. 20 of 27, 284 yards, 4 touchdowns. Brendan, you took a look at some of the film from that performance. What did you see when you looked at it?
Yeah, I think one thing that really stood out was the play action. Mansfield was kind of loading the box a little bit, but Barnstead was kind of showing a lot of man-free looks early. I think they were kind of showing 6 or 7 in the box, and I think Mansfield was kind of preying on that, trying to take advantage of perhaps some over-aggression, trying to stop the run game and take advantage of the one-on-one matches they had on the perimeter. I'll show you a couple of plays here when I'm talking about, but they were really effective with play action on Friday night. All right, this first play here is going to be a 46-yard touchdown pass to Kyle Hurley. Cover 0, 7 in the box against 3 wide receivers, 5-man rush. Look at the play action here. They're going to bite. Then look at Hurley and Miguel Villar-Perez kind of in the same space here. It's a 2-on-1. That's an easy matchup for them to take advantage of. This next one here is a 35-yard touchdown catch by Michael Hirschman off the interception. 22 personnel. Brennan Hill's lined up as a tight end. Hirschman 1 yard off the ball. Next to him, they got 7 in the box. Barnstead come out of cover 3. One of the best ways for those who know to beat a cover 3 is verticals. That's what Hirschman's going to do here. And look at this catch from Hirschman. Just lays out one of the highlight plays, I think, of the night. This next play here. 10-yard catch from Hurley. Again, 7 in the box. They got Hayden Murphy coming off the edge on the top of your screen. They're going to sag into a cover 3. Hurley is going to loop around from split end and sit in a zone hole near the seams, 10 yards downfield. That's an easy catch he makes in space. And this last one here, it's going to be a 20-yard pass to Brennan Hill. Again, 22 personnel. Hill's on the left side of the formation. He's going to release off the line of scrimmage, an angle to the sideline. He's picked up by Derek Estes, but he's out of position, sagging far back, and he makes the easy catch. I thought going into the matchup that the biggest key was going to be stopping the zone read action. We've talked all year about all the extracurriculars and how there's some smoke and mirrors there. And, they did their part. They pretty much created a muck in the middle of the field, repeatedly filling their zone, everything like that. But I was impressed with the way that they were just able to kind of take advantage of some aggression here from Barnstead and really open the game up.
Yeah, Drew Patel had a really great game in the middle there, coming away with his first career interception. Of course, on the flip side, Mike Hirschman, 7 catches, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Huge factor there.
Big.
Now let's get into another one of those matchups that we talked about last weekend, coming in with Holliston and Dennis Yarmouth. Zach Elkinson, among the statewide leaders in receiving, a very versatile athlete there. And opposing him, Michael Dunn, just completely shut him out.
Yeah, and they're going to have a good matchup here with Bedford. Bedford has not allowed a passing touchdown all year. Even though they play sort of a run-heavy schedule, it's still pretty impressive. But I don't know if they've seen a secondary quite as impressive as Dennis Yarmouth. I mean, you look at the Holliston offense year in, year out. They're so effective. They put up a ton of yardage. They're one of those spread offenses that's year in, year out, one of the best. And DY just kind of picked them apart. 5 interceptions, 4 sacks. It was just turnover after turnover. It seemed like it just kind of really cemented. It really just kind of built up like a mushroom cloud almost. The biggest matchup, obviously, was Michael Dunn holding Zach Elkinson without a catch. I've talked to you about him being one of the premier coverage corners in Eastern Mass. He's certainly raising his profile with his performances playoffs. Absolutely. I'll show you some of these interceptions. Not a lot of fancy stuff here, but just really great execution on the defensive side of the ball here. This first pick right here is from LK Metz, the linebacker, number 4. He's going to match up with a tight end who releases to the sideline. LK is simply just going to jump this route at the sideline. He's going to get a big return on this one, set up a touchdown score. This next one's an interception from Mike Anderson. You don't see it on the screen, but it looks like a cover 2. Halsted quarterback Matt J thinks he's got a first down when the tight end releases across the field. But Anderson, shaded to the top of the screen, is going to sit deep. He's just going to jump the route and pick it off. And then look at his big return. We talk about Ed Reed and one of the best run after the catch. Look at this. Look at the way he's just running down the field. This one right here is a tip drill from the defensive lineman for an interception, quick one. It's going to be a 4-man rush, but look at all 4 of these guys on a 4-point stance. Looks like they're off to a track meet. They're undersized. Speed is the name of the game on his defense. Good example of technique right there, but look, he just gets his hands up at the line of scrimmage, pops up, and somebody just falls on it. And this next one right here is from Michael Dunn going for Zach Elkinson. Halston's pinned at their own 1. They're going to come out in that familiar war package they like to run inside the red zones. Great technique here. Look where his arms are. He boxes him out. Once he boxes him out, he's just going to outleap him for the easy pick. So as we've talked about throughout the playoffs here, Scott, speed is the name of the game with Dennis Yarmouth. Yeah. You've seen it. You saw it 2 years ago against Walpole.
The Blitzkrieg.
The Blitzkrieg that was that night. Yeah. It really is a factor here. Yeah. It's so hard to replicate, even for a fast team like Holliston. Mm-hmm. I think Bedford is going to have an interesting matchup here trying to neutralize that.
Absolutely, and we'll get into that with our picks in just a little bit here. But before we do that, let's take a look at this Melrose run. Obviously, a great accomplishment so far, but Malik Garrett has been really the impetus behind all of this. Again, going over 100 yards, both passing and rushing last week, again, in that win. Brennan, when you look at this option attack, they're very efficient here. Yeah. Well, what makes them tick, though?
Yeah, I mean, before we had talked about the way they package screens and one of those teams, but really it's kind of all over the place. Malik Garrett is an option quarterback in every sense of the word. He kind of great running ability, obviously, but he can hit those guys on the quick routes. Really, what makes a run is his escapability. He's a tough guy to bring down. He's got that superior leg strength. He's got real quickness. He can make guys miss. He can break their ankles, or he can just run them over. It's kind of unique to watch. I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about here. There's a lot of different things they do in this option game. It's pretty complicated. This first play here, watch as number 34, Jack Hickey, is going to motion across the formation. Then he's going to swing around as a pitchback. Now, technically, this is a forward pass, but for all intents and purposes, he's the pitchback here. If you watch the BYU-Texas game earlier this year, they carved up Texas a ton with this play. 3 plays later, Malik Garrett is going to get a 25-yard run here. Looks like it's going to set up again for that kind of a play, but instead the pitchback is going to cut block the defensive end. It's a design run. The 2 defensive backs outside are taken downfield. And look at the way this kid Garrett just runs. When you talk about escapability, this kid is up there with the best of them, and this play shows that right here. This next play right here is early in the third quarter. Mike DeRaphael, first touch of the game for a 56-yard touchdown. It's a wide zone read, but look at the perimeter blocking. Big, nice seam for him to run through. The 2 wide receivers here, excellent, holding on to the Mary and carrying her out of the play. And then this next one, 41-yard touchdown run from Garrett. Pistol with an offset fullback. It's going to look like a zone read triple option. They fake the dive to number 22. It's a correct read. Look at how the defensive end sits, and it's just a canyon for Garrett to run through. Again, great perimeter blocking. Number 3, Colby Andrews holds on long enough for Garrett to get by. Scott, we've talked all year about Tewksbury and what an encyclopedia of an offense they run. I mean, every family of offense you can imagine. Melrose, obviously is not the Tewksbury offense, not running everything in creation, but this option game is multi-pronged. It's not just one thing or the other. A lot of teams like to run zone read. They'll do that, but they'll also have a lot of pitch outs. It's going to be difficult to stop, and with the athletes that they got, I think they're going to give Tewksbury a big game here.
Now, before we move on again to the picks, we got a slightly different option look here with St. John Shrewsbury. Obviously should be mentioned the first time since Dave Pelosi has been coaching over at Leominster. The Pioneers come away with a tremendous win, perhaps one of the games. Seems like we've been saying this every week. Right. There's been a game of the week, but really one of the true ones here. Drew Smyly, man, what a performance. 5 total touchdowns, just running all over the place, 200 yards through the air and, again, on the ground as well. What did you see from them against Leominster this week?
Yeah, boy, Smyly really showed us that he hasn't lost whatever people thought he lost. That was impressive. 450 yards of offense, 6 touchdowns. They were really testing him. Cover 2 defense, there's that honey hole, they call it, 10, 15 yards down the sideline, and they were testing him. They were daring him almost, kind of a Toro, Olay, and he was hitting them. He was hitting them in tight windows, hitting some tight spirals. Mike McGillicuddy is kind of his security blanket.
Yep.
He had a big 933 yards receiving. But we've talked before about in the playoffs, you've got to give them something they haven't seen before. Yep. And St. John's, I don't know if they had run this in weeks prior, but I picked up on it pretty quickly against Leominster. We've talked about the screen option off the zone reads. Well, there's another whole variation of that where you can actually run, I think some people call it a quadruple option, but you actually run a screen and a route combination on the backside of a zone read. It's pretty unique. I'll show you a couple examples of what I'm talking about here. This first player here is a 9-yard pass to McGillicuddy. Watch the match point here where Shane Combs, a running back, setting up a screen, and then you've got McGillicuddy and Micah Cummins running a route combination. McGillicuddy is going to just sit in his hitch route 10 yards downfield at the sticks for an easy 9-yard catch. Show it again. 7-yard catch here from McGillicuddy. Look at the mesh point again. Look at the screen being set up here. McGillicuddy's breaking off. He's going to sit in his zone, 7-yard catch. And then we'll show you something unique here. So here again, we're going to pull the ball. First inside receiver runs a screen. McGillicuddy is going to run a 10-yard hitch, and he's going to sit. Smyly pumps at him, and then he goes upfield. Micah Cummins is just running a go route down the sideline, 25 yards. Now, their matchup with Springfield Central might be the best matchup of the weekend, if you ask me, that D2 Central West final. Cody Williams, 344 yards, 4 TDs last week. I don't know if St. John's has seen a receiving corps as elite as this, but I think you can take them out of their element with a little bit of trickeration here, a little bit of misdirection. Don't give away where the play is going so easily. I think Central is used to that based on some of the teams that they've seen out there. So.
Now let's get into it, folks, with the road ahead here. We're going to get into it in a little abbreviated form of our picks here. Of course, we'll have every one of the state races, of course, handicapped from here on out. But we'll get into it this week with Division 6 EMass. Cohasset and St. Clement, I know they've been coming at us a little bit. We've been picking against the Anchormen the whole way here, but they just keep on winning. So I almost feel bad if I go with them at this point. But what do you got, Brennan?
Yeah, boy, this St. Clement team, a lot bigger. I had a chance to watch him a little bit. A lot bigger than I thought when I saw him in person. Keneal Bruce, 6'4", about 190 pounds looking, and then Junior Oyaronbi, 6'1", 170. Look at their line, though. Paul Catalano, 6'4", 320. Larniel Coleman, DN, 6'5", 230. Okay, Connor Sullivan, 6'3", 255. Jordan Reyes, 5'11", 280. Will Rennie, 6'3", 240. At a Division 6 school, the Catholics aren't so small. Are you kidding me? Where do they get these guys? I don't know, but they're a lot bigger than people give them credit for. And I think Keneal Bruce and Junior on the outside are going to be real key here. Obviously, Mike Sullivan, the quarterback, second leader in touchdown passes in Division 6 with 23. He's got a lot of weapons around him to work with. Cohasset, they're going to keep it close. I think Cole Kissick, the University of Richmond cross commit.
Great player.
Boy, he's got some great straight line speed. He's a little bit, got the nice jab step, running out of the I formation. But at the end of the day, I think talent will trump them here. Give me St. Clement winning this one 23-20.
Yeah, this is a very athletic Cohasset team. But then again, I think Clement has a little bit more on the athlete stable. I hate to do this because I hope it doesn't curse you, but I'm going to go with St. Clement here by a score of 28-22. Let's take a look at Division 5 in Eastern Mass, which is Abington and Bishop Fenwick. Does Rufus Russians play here? That's definitely in play here.
Yeah, that's the word, Rufus Russians coming back. But Matt Kilmaine, who's definitely back, he's definitely been a factor. You see the way that Abington is going to run through Division 5 South. I think it's going to be a lot more competitive game than maybe it would have looked, 4 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
They had a nice win over Spellman. If you look at the margin of victory between Fenwick and Abington over Spellman, you might give Fenwick the advantage, but I think it's going to be really close. However, you got to like the way Nick Bona is playing in these playoffs. Yeah. One of the breakout stars, not the biggest quarterback, but he might be one of the toughest, the way he just kind of churns out yards. Give me Fenwick 17-16.
It's hard to say that this is a Cinderella story per se with Abington because obviously they won a Super Bowl last year. So this is Coach Kelleher. We all know what the pedigree is there, obviously. But for them to get to this point, I think everything that they've gone through with injuries, and it wasn't just Kilmaine. I mean, it was week after week. It seemed like somebody else was coming out of the lineup there. For them to get to this point, I think is a major accomplishment. But ultimately, I went with Fenwick in the beginning when we did our preseason or playoff polls before the playoffs, I should should say. Went with Funwick at that point, and Nick Bona has just been perhaps the breakout with Russians out of the lineup. He's really carried the load here, and I'm going to go with the Crusaders going all the way to Gillette here at 20-14. Let's take a look at the Central Western matchup in Division 4, which is Doherty and Wacona.
Yeah, Wacona, kind of the sleeper here, I guess, after they beat Agawam. I think people were kind of expecting Agawam to come out of that bracket, but I'm not sure how many teams like Doherty they've seen out there in Western Mass. It's hard to replicate what they do. We've talked about Alfred Adarkwa, 7 catches, 5 touchdowns. Holy cow, right? Isaac Yadin, the BC commit, the way they use him so many different ways on offense, but also just covering a lot of ground in safety, keeping everything under wraps. I think Doherty has a good time with Wacona. Wacona keeps it, they keep it steady for a half, but I think Doherty pulls it out in the end, 30-17.
You talk about the Agawam game. I think playoff experience was, I think, a difference there. Wacona is a team, obviously, we saw here at Gillette Stadium last year, again, getting themselves to the point where they can make a return performance here. But again, as you mentioned, I just think too many athletes to contend with there, and Jakari Carpenter coming out of the backfield as well. I'm going to go with Doherty. Absolutely. I mean, you can go on and on. I think it's the Highlanders' year. I'm going to go 32-27. Division 4 in Eastern Mass, as we mentioned off the top, Bedford and Dennis Yarmouth.
Yeah. Again, Michael Dunn, Spencer Tyler, Corey DeSimone, Jake Polina, LK Matz. There's just too many weapons at too high of a speed for many people to contain. They've been rolling ever since that loss to Nauset. They've been on fire, man. I don't know how many, what, 7 or 8 game win streak, something like that. Boy, this is going to be tough to contain for Bedford. Owen Abner, he's done his part. I just think there's too many weapons to contain here. Give me DY 34-20.
You talk about the Walpole game from a couple years ago as perhaps a template here coming into Bedford, seeing what, again, that undersized but very agile, and they just love to collapse everything inside on this DY defense. I think they're going to do the same here against Bedford, and could make for some tough sledding for Abner and company. So I'm going to go with DY by a score. I think it'll be close, though. I'll go with 30-28. We'll take a look at Division 3 South. Of course, North-South component there in Division 3. No Eastern, exclusively Eastern Mass, I should say. Stoughton and Plymouth South.
Boy, Stoughton really showed us a lot, I think. Contrary.
Yeah, a little bit of,
Hey,
taking it to us, yeah.
Well, we knew what we were going to get. I mean, I picked them to
You
win.
picked them to win
at Davenport beginning of the season. I mean, we know
I guess that's disrespect.
Anyways. No, we love everybody. Trust me. No, I think that Stoughton really, we knew had some talent, but beating Oliver Ames in the fashion they did, we know what Oliver Ames had with their talent. Was quite impressive. Might have been a win of the year for them, considering everything they'd done since the Malachi ball injury. Lennox Green, 14 touchdowns, real speedy guy. You don't get too many guys of his speed around there often. But this Plymouth South team, they're going to muck it up, just like they did against Plymouth North. They're going to keep it between the tackles. They're going to have long drives. They're just going to bully guys off the ball. Sean Duncombe is a road grader. I expect a few pancakes from him. Dylan Oxen, I mean, how many games did he had under 150 yards rushing? I don't know. 39 carries last week, wasn't it? I mean, geez. He is just pulling a huge workload in these playoffs. Give me Plymouth South winning this one 16-14.
Yeah, I think really, as you mentioned, with Oxen having such a great load that he's just been carrying, I mean, really for 2 years now, it's been, you come to expect 30 carries a game at the very least from him. I think ball control becomes all that much more important. Being able to, in between snaps, take a little bit of time and kind of regroup yourself there, and we saw that play out against North last week. I think it's going to be the same kind of deal here. I think it's going to be another black and blue game here, and same result, I think, with South coming out with a win. We'll call it 14-7. Let's take a look at Division 3 in the North. We already mentioned Melrose, and then the team we've kind of anointed from early on in the season in Tewksbury. Yeah,
Tewksbury, hey, they've faced a lot of different stuff in this season, and obviously coming from a spread-oriented league like the MVC, this isn't their first rodeo handling an option as multi-pronged as Melrose is, even for all the diversity they have there.
Absolutely.
They really have done nothing to show that they're not worthy of being a state champions here, that they won't pull it out. And they've had a couple comeback victories, the Gloucester victory last week. Marblehead gave them some trouble, but Tewksbury pulled it out in the end. I think the Red Men roll here again, but it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to come down to the final possession. which Tewksbury will win, 24-21.
I think with this Tewksbury team, as you mentioned, akin to Mansfield, it seems like they need some little hit across the mouth to get them going, and I think that'll be the case here. I think it's going to be a very close one. I think this might be perhaps the game of the weekend. I'm going to go with Tewksbury, though, in the end, pulling it out. I'm going to go 21-20, and let's take a look at Division II Eastern Mass. As I mentioned, the Mansfield Hornets are swarming, but this Waltham team can really chuck it, too, behind Dana Perella.
Yeah. Look, if Mansfield can put 41 on Barnstable, I don't know how Waltham beats these guys. No offense. I know there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz brewing in that town, but I don't know how they solve this Mansfield offense, this Mansfield defense. They just seem like a team of destiny at this point. They survived the toughest bracket in the state, the group of death. They're D2 South. I think they're going to be in Gillette on December 7th. Give me Mansfield 35-14.
Yeah, obviously this Waltham program kind of been a sleeping giant there in the DCL, and perhaps a changing of the guard there with that very emphatic win over Lincoln Sudbury last week. But again, from the beginning, day one, Mansfield I think has been that freight train moving through the night. There's not going to be anything that slows this team down going into Gillette, and I'm going to go with the Hornets 32-26. The team that they will play will be determined in this game, which is Springfield Central and, of course, St. John's Shrewsbury.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of points put in this one, I think. Again, I feel like we said it every week with St. John's, don't we?
Yeah.
This is going to be a shootout. This is going to be a shootout. Well, St. John's plays fast. They're going to give a lot of possessions, but I think Central provides a whole nother look from what they're used to seeing out in Central Mass. I mean, this receiving corps, it seems like every week they're adding a new weapon that has a big game. I think Travis Dykes last weekend was a big game for them. Troy Morrow, Juwan Williams, Malik Johnson, Day Clemens. Just go down the list and of the weapons that Cody Williams has to work with, that speed. They really are, I think, the best team in Division II for everything we say about Eastern Mass. This is going to be a high-scoring affair, but one that St. John's got to play from behind for most of the night. Yeah. Springfield Central 38-28.
Live fast, play fast. St. John's does it well, but I think it catches up with them a little bit here. I think the Central defensive group with DeQuan Clemens obviously taking the reins there. I think they're going to have – that's going to be my matchup right there. I don't think they've seen a secondary player. With no disrespect, obviously, to Addo and O'Connor last week, but I mean this defense can really bring it here, and I think that's the difference.
The wrecking ball back
Absolutely.
there. Wrecking ball.
Came in just like one. Yikes. Did I just make a Miley Cyrus reference? I never thought I would do that.
It'll be for the blooper reel, won't it?
Yeah, it will, actually. Let's hold on to that one at home, I guess. I'm going to go with the Golden Eagles here. 31-24 and put a wrap on this one. I really can't believe that. But we'll see what other kind of pop cultural references we can come up with next week, I suppose.
Well, I don't listen to music, so whatever.
It's all good. It's all about punk rock. And, of course, for Brennan Hall, I'm Scott Barboza. Keep it tuned to ESPNBoston.com High Schools.